done some rearranging of my microphone to hopefully give it better, noise cancellation properties. And I'm still currently working on this room to get it, basically like noise fabricated to where it doesn't come through that bad. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and jump into it. What I want to talk about today is DLC that was cut, or additions that was cut from Shadow of War. So I was looking through some Reddit stuff and came up from a post from a while ago where the game was about a year into the game being released, where somebody was coming across trying to do coding for the game, inspecting the code for the game, and found unused items that were added after release of the game that unfortunately never ended up getting used. So unfortunately these things we're never going to get. However, we do now know from this that more DLC and updates for contents were planned, but it's the possibility that the DLC or content updates for the contract between WB and Monolith expired, and essentially WB did not renew the contract for more DLC and content to be made, because essentially it's a single player game and the numbers were on the down low. So that's pretty much probably what went on with the situation and why we never got these things. But let's delve into what they actually are. Number one is actually going to be a new map. Now unfortunately, with none of these items that the guy found in the coding, there were no images, there was no anything of traces or anything like that, so they must have been very, very early into possibly becoming ideas but never fully finished. But there were some file names that were basically said in there that he was able to determine what they were. One of them was to be a new map that was to be added to the game. Unfortunately, there is not any more information to this, but he went through and looked through the coding and did find that none of the coding for that map matched any of the coding that was in the game for the other maps, and none of it matched any of the other maps or any of the item names in any of the other maps, except for a couple of things here and there to do with textures. So unfortunately, this was scrapped and completely removed out of the game, and we will never get to see what the other map was. He can confirm and did confirm it was not Liflad that was supposed to be put into the game. So it's a map that we're never going to get, and we don't know what it is. Going on to the next thing, apparently Talion at one point was supposed to have a battle type axe. Now he did speculate and say that of course Talion, as we all know, does use a sword, so it probably most likely was not an actual like main weapon. It was probably one of the throwables, or like the little like hammers that you can get and then kind of like throw, for an example, as a ranged weapon. So it was probably most likely one of those, but as a little battle axe instead. This never came to fruition in the game. He believes that this was a scrapped idea that was left in the game after the game had been released. Going on to the next thing would have been more appearing elemental dragons. For people who don't know, you can actually encounter a fire dragon in the game, a poison, and an ice dragon. So the dragons look all the exact same, they just breathe different type of elementals. You can actually encounter these in the game, and it depends on what region you're in, but they are very, very, very rare to get the different type of elemental dragons. However, it is possible to obtain, as I've seen all three of them in my playthroughs across the games for the many amount of hours I put into the game. However, when it comes down to it, this content update would have made it so it was more, basically there were more abundance of them, as well as you could see them a lot more, and they would appear a lot more in different regions. But sadly, this update was never pushed out to make that a reality. Going on to the next one on top of that would have been, there is 2 more tribes that would have been added to the game. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any information other than there would have been 2 more tribes added to the game, because the string of coding that was found to be with 2 other tribes that were unnamed and not made yet. So there's no more information on regarding that. What that does tell us is they planned on making more DLC tribes rather than the Outlaw and the Slaughter tribe, but it just never came to fruition. Going on to the next one, which would have been the biggest one in my personal opinion, which is one that a lot of people wanted, is the ability essentially to have a tribe that was more so towards necromancy than the Mystic tribe. For people who don't know, the Mystic tribe does have the ability to have necromancy. It's one of the rarest ones that you can get in the game and very difficult to find. However, there would have been a tribe that was solely speculated towards necromancy. Unfortunately, that idea never came to fruition, as we know, because in this video, obviously, it was DLC that was never used and or content that was never pushed to the game due to the fact being of the content ending for the game. Now, one thing that the guy did actually manage to find was customization for the bases, where you could literally go in and individually customize the bases. It seems like this was left over as remnants from basically where they scrapped it and essentially just ended up using where whichever tribe you picked as the overlord essentially just kind of took over how the region looked and kind of took over how the fortress looked. However, he did delve into it a little bit and come to find out that there is some customization to where you could actually apply it to the fortress individually. If you guys have ever played a game like Overlord back in the day, If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. But essentially, you kind of had your own like little castle you would go to, and you could customize it with different banners and stuff like that. That's essentially how it could have worked in the game if it would have came to fruition. And finally, the very last thing is there was supposed to be a new mode added into the game that was kind of like a time attack mode to see how fast you can complete the game or different things in the game, kind of like how the very first Shadow of Mordor kind of had these like challenges that you complete in a limited amount of time, different things along those lines. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What was one of the contents here that you guys wish you could have added or had seen in the game? And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.